And my point of view with TikTok that's always gotten me in trouble is, what rule did they break, right? What regulation did they break? What can we point to say you screwed up? You're not supposed to do this. Here's the law against it, and therefore we're banning you. We kind of like we're skipping a step, right? And my point is like, yes, foreign adversaries should not have access to our data. Frankly, not even adversaries. Foreign entities should not have access to this depth of data.
You had a comment on, I think it was the Montana banning TikTok. I think you kind of, what LinkedIn doesn't call it subtweet, but I guess it's like you would kind of consider it that. You basically repost the article and add your thoughts. I'm a dummy when it comes to this. Like I said, I just make fun of it, but I have no data or anything.
Yeah, I got really beat up over that post because it kind of went viral, which oftentimes has positive connotations. But in this context, man, there was a lot of people in the comment thread saying that I was the dumbest human being alive, and all that kind of fun stuff when you're talking about really controversial topics. I've been working at the intersection of entertainment and technology for about 18 years, mostly social content. Started with MySpace video and Google video and kind of worked my way through the evolutions, right? So everything from time working at Facebook, where I ran the game creators division, all the way through building a couple of the biggest influencer networks in the world. So heavily embedded in this stuff. And my point of view with TikTok that's always gotten me in trouble is, what rule did they break, right? What regulation did they break? What can we point to say you screwed up? You're not supposed to do this. Here's the law against it, and therefore we're banning you. We kind of like we're skipping a step, right? And my point is like, yes, foreign adversaries should not have access to our data. Frankly, not even adversaries. Foreign entities should not have access to this depth of data. It is on our legislators to find a structure of rules by which they can protect us from these things, so we're not playing whack-a-mole, but instead we have actual ways to say, oh, there's a thing called TikTok growing. The Chinese Communist Party has access to this data. Therefore, you have to do X, Y, and Z, or else we're not going to allow you in the country. But if you do X, Y, and Z, then we know that it's safe. We've never gone through that. And I know that I'm going to be jumping around to talk about Facebook, but Facebook just got Meta, got a $1.3 billion fine from the European Union, from European regulators, because they have a framework of data protection. It's called the GDPR. They actually set forth laws or rules around it, and Meta broke those rules. And therefore, they were able to say, hey, you broke these rules, and here's your fine. I would really love America to do that. And I'm really trying to force this issue. I talk about it a lot, and I talk about it a lot on panels, and I've talked about with politicians about this. But what it comes down to is our media environment is such that complex issues are not the kind of thing politicians want to take on, because they don't get fundraising and votes based on complex topics. They get it based on culture wars. And an easy culture war is China ban TikTok. A hard culture war, or a hard thing to do, is create an entire framework for data privacy, which is exactly what we need.
Wow. Yeah. So I may be, telling stories out of school here, or maybe I just don't know anything about this, but I think that you do, just because you mentioned it. If I'm not wrong, Europe just has more strict kind of regulations on the internet in general, right? Yeah. I mean, versus the US, they take it, I want to say, more seriously, I guess. Mm-hmm. Can you speak on that at all? So that must mean that's kind of probably where this comes from, I would assume. I just remember years ago reading about even just advertising on the internet and then users' data there, whether it's even just emails. Can you speak on that in terms of Europe versus US and kind of how they look at it?
Yeah, I encourage everyone who's interested in this topic just to do a Google of the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, I believe is what it stands for. Which is this framework. It's not in legalese. It's not really hard to read. It's actually a very clean and clear Bill of Rights for data protection that isn't just about what servers are handling sensitive data. How we all have the unsubscribe button on emails when you're getting a mass email and it's super, super easy to unsubscribe. Thank you, GDPR, right? That was part of that regulatory framework that forced spam emails to have a simple unsubscribe button on it. The GDPR has actually done a lot of really positive things that are consumer friendly actions for how we handle content, data, outreach, spam, etc. And frankly, what I've also encouraged the politicians who I have spoken to about this is to, why don't you just start with that? Like, why not just like say, all right, what's the GDPR doing well and what are they not doing? Take the best parts of it and start with that. And if there's things you don't like, I don't care, remove them. If you want to be more corporate friendly and make it easier to send us all spam emails that we hate, fine, take out that regular. I don't care. But at the very least, it's a really elegantly done framework. Some people say it goes too far. And my big concern in terms of it going too far is if, let's say, every country or every state, right, decides to have their own regulatory framework of how data has to be handled or what disclosures you need, it will be impossible for any startup internet company to ever grow and thrive, right? Because like Meta can handle that because Meta has billions of dollars by which they can block off by geos and give very specific. But if I'm like, hey, I'm Mark Zuckerberg at Harvard in 2005, and I'm just starting this thing, and people go, okay, you need to start by having $3 million in salaries with chief compliance officers and everything to make sure on a state-by-state basis it works. It's going to kill innovation. So I don't want to kill innovation, but I also want to make sure that, like, we don't have the Chinese Communist Party able to kind of go willy-nilly all over our data. Like, there's got to be some sort of framework that can do both.
Yeah, this is just a reality of the future, right? It's like we need something. Like, and TikTok is not the last; it's one of the first.
Right.
Like, this is gonna be forever. If you want to look like 100 years down the line, TikTok's probably going to be done. Like nobody thought Sears was going to close. You know what I'm saying? Like everything has its cycles. Walmart one day will close. I mean, maybe not. Maybe this is a megalithic thing, and you know but there's no monopoly busting anymore. And now it's just like Walmart and Amazon rule all, and you know maybe that's the dystopian version. But I mean, I think that that's probably why partially why Europe does it too. It's for sure a immediate thing, but it's also like, hey, the TikTok's not the last TikTok. Like, that's for sure.
Oh, I went back in 2006. I still have this on my hard drive because it humbles me. I wrote a report to my boss. I was doing at that time mobile content, ringtones, wallpapers, pre-smartphone apps, like old video stuff. And he wanted me to do a deep dive into how the internet is going to disrupt our business, right? And I wrote two things that I highlight to humble me. One is I said, Facebook is never going to have a chance because MySpace is so dominant and has all the celebrities. I'm like, Facebook is not built for celebrities. Facebook is built for people and primarily students. So in what universe is Tila Tequila and Dane Cook going to get taken down by a bunch of college kids, right? I was very wrong. So that was one. Two is I said YouTube doesn't have a chance because Rever, which was a early video play, already does monetization splits of 50-50 with creators. So they're owning monetization. And Google Video, which was not the same as YouTube at the time, they hadn't bought YouTube yet, owns search. So I'm like, if one person owns search and another one owns monetization, then if Google Video bought Rever, then YouTube would be screwed, right? So, and I ended up being wrong. They ended up buying YouTube, and YouTube ended up scaling. And so all that to say is, you're right. TikTok's not going to be dominant in 20 years, probably. Instagram probably won't. Like, things move too fast. And if you look at the things that are taking off right now, AI, quantum computing, holograms are starting to show up, AR glasses, if it takes off, if Apple releases their mixed reality device and we all start ditching our phones and we're all just wearing weird Goonie glasses and then all of our communication and search is happening through eye movements, nothing's going to be the dominant in 10 years that's dominant now. So you have to have a roll with the punches mentality. And the only way to do that is through clear regulatory frameworks by which everyone can play along,
Yeah. So what would you think, like, do you think about why the US isn't doing it? Is it because of more complicated things with China that I definitely don't understand? Is it a mix of things? I don't know how deep you want to go here, but I'm curious as to like what people like what the government. I say the government, right? I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about.
No, it's
Whoever
good.
makes these things, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm just a regular person. This is how kind of how I think about it. Like, why is it not happening?
Yeah.
And obviously, we just saw Montana, so maybe that ties into it. And like you said, maybe that's not the way though, because as you mentioned, every state having different rules is going to be a disaster. So, but like, why do you
Right.
think that it's not happening? And is it actually happening? Like, are they having conversations about this, and where is it going?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start this by saying I love America. I am accused often on
Me
LinkedIn of
too.
being too hard on America. And I
Come
will
on,
just
man.
say,
I got a Skinner shirt on right
there
now,
we
dog.
go.
Let's go.
Yeah, I am cut from small town Michigan cloth. Don't think of me as a coastal elite, but I will say something that might make me sound a little coastal elite, which is all you have to do is look at like the debt limit increase right now, where we might fall off a financial cliff because we've got people arguing about something that has nothing to do with the thing that's actually going to hurt us. And they're like, fine, ruin the economy of America. If I don't get what I want, whatever, ruin it, right? That's the mentality that our politics has right now in America of like, I will kill every one of my citizens in order for my political party to get its way. And I'm like, wait, I'm a citizen. Please don't do that, right? It's the same way with this stuff is every decision that politicians make are first about taking care of their corporate donors, second about their reelection, and then third, fourth, fifth, like probably third is about what job they'll have after politics, or will they be able to get on the Sunday shows? And then we'll look at like fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh might be a little bit of like morality, conviction, like maybe we fall down here above those other things, right? Got to take care of your corporate donors, got to take care of your reelection campaign, got to take care of your party, all those things. And I don't care if you're talking about AOC or if you're talking about Donald Trump, right? That's the level that it's going on for almost everybody. So you score a lot of points by going, China's bad, ban TikTok, TikTok's ruining America, because parents, and especially older people who are more willing to vote, go, hell yeah, I'll vote for that guy, screw those kids, right? If you go out and say, I am building a regulatory framework that'll be done in 2 years, but it'll be fantastic. And the rollout strategy is this. And what it's going to do is protect your data because there's going to be a server. We're going to be able to check where servers are located here. And we're going to do this and that. That just doesn't pull well because it's hard. It's complicated. And people don't like complicated. They like, what they like is, hey, there's drag queens telling stories to your kids, ban it. Or like that's easy points to score. The other one is hard points to score. Nobody wants to go after the hard points anymore, and that's part of the reason why I have so much respect for what they've done in Europe. Is they're going after the really hard topics, and frankly, you're even seeing this in a lot of like countries that we oftentimes make fun of for being, like a lot of Southeast Asian countries that we've kind of written off and blah whatever. They're doing really progressive and interesting measures to dominate the conversation as it relates to AI and digital culture and exporting digital culture. And in America, we're just falling behind because we can't break this gridlock. And I don't think we ever will until we figure out an entirely new way by which our government can operate.
All people want to share is the guy asking Elon if his tweets affect the company, right? It's like
Right.
that's all that like
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing live.
Right.
Like that was the least interesting part of the entire conversation for
Totally.
me personally. That's the dumbest question I've ever heard. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like saying, does a tree fall down affect the forest? It's like,
Oh, God.
in one way or another, it affects like everything affects everything. Like, how far are we gonna go with this question, right? Like, it's just like it's kind of like a butterfly effect thing to me.
Oh yeah, I mean, I worked at Facebook when we had some of those congressional hearings where we had Zuckerberg in front of him, so we would watch it like a hawk. I'd be doing my work and I'd have it out over here, and like my boss's 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 boss is sitting on TV being interviewed, and the dumb questions that came like to the point where like everybody was just like pushing their political agenda and then using Mark Zuckerberg as an intermediary. Like asking them questions that have nothing to do with Facebook. They have to do with the internet, or they have to do with like digital culture, or like it reminded me of the video game hearings of the late 90s. I don't know if you were old enough at that time for that, but some of your listeners might remember it, where they essentially Mortal Kombat 2 came out. There was a lot of blood in it. And what they decided to do with that was call up every video game publisher in the world, put them in front of Congress, and scream at them for ruining their children. And me as a diehard gamer at that time, I was still in high school, but I was a diehard gamer. I was watching these congressional hearings going, these are the stupidest people ever. Like this, it's not the psycho murderers that are playing this. It's the nerds like me. It's like, and we're not like saying I'm going to go kill somebody because I'm watching Mortal Kombat 2. It's like these are silly. It's like an R-rated movie, right? Parents shouldn't let their kids watch R-rated movies. Shouldn't ban R-rated movies. Parents shouldn't let kids play Mortal Kombat 2. If that's what, like, it just seemed like lunacy to me. It's the same thing that I feel as an adult watching these hearings now.
Yeah, it's like, you know what those people are doing? They're playing video games. Like that's
Right.
what they're not out like taking the all right, good. I have a good sense on tactical
Right.
weaponry now. I'm going to go like no, they're still playing video. They're addicted
Right.
to video games, most of them. So it's like they're not even going out the house. That's actually the real problem.
Right.
Is they're not even going to a park and going for a jog, you know? It's
Yeah,
like the worst of it. The
it's
worst of
too
it is people
good.
who play too
Yeah.
much. Yeah, exactly. Like the worst of it is people who play too many video games. Like that's the worst you're going to get from that, you know? But
Right.
it is really that kind of reactionary approach, not the understanding approach. It's not the let's kind of like look at the reality of it. And I think that's a lot of kind of like how you look at these things, which is like the logic versus the emotion of like,
Right.
let's look at logically what laws they're breaking, right? And that's not to say that it's not wrong. It's just
Right.
the question that has no answer that then, nobody can really answer, where nobody knows the answer to it. It's just we should ban it. I guess in the case of TikTok, right? It's we should ban it. Well, why? Well, it's bad. Well, why is it bad? And now let's go down this rabbit hole of questions, and then there's no answers at the end of that.
Right.
At least not yet.
Well, I also do believe that the Chinese Communist Party is accessing the data, probably. And
I think
because
most
that's how
people believe
country
that too.
operates,
Yeah.
You know,
they control all business. I mean, that's objective.
But they also if you look at how many companies out of China are kind of digital companies that are becoming pretty dominant. ByteDance isn't the only one, and frankly, TikTok's not even the only ByteDance property. Sure, TikTok is huge and creates a unique threat in the depth of data gathering, and there are 100 million Americans on it, and yet there's that. But there's a lot of video game companies that are owned by China that can access that. Like, what if we don't start taking measures now and knowing how we have to deal with all companies that come from other countries that are collecting a lot of data, then we're screwed in the future. We are screwed, because the future of psyops and the future of like data gathering that will be used in the wars of the future. And I think the wars of the future are going to be fought online. I think hackers are going to be our soldiers, and that's going to be the world that we live in. It's already starting to happen, right? Like you've seen what's happened with Cambridge Analytica and all of those other things in the past. Like, if we don't start building this stuff now, and other countries are building this stuff, they're going to have safer citizens than America will have. And at the end of the day, we can sit and argue and ban all we want, but until we start having set measures, TikTok will go under, and a Chinese company will just launch another one that will also grow, and then we'll bankrupt that one, and then another one will, and another one will, and where does it end?
Yeah, and I know that we are the real, like we were the real Wild West, right? But times have changed, right? It's like everything's way different. Like we're not, social media Wild West is a different animal. Data Wild West is a different animal. So yeah, I think there's just that like American kind of culture coming into it where it's like, don't ban our TikTok, don't ban our stuff kind of in general. Like don't ban stuff, don't ban guns, don't ban anything, don't ban stuff that we like,
right?
But there's more to the story than just don't ban it. And because then you have to have the conversation afterwards, which that's when it really gets into the weeds. But I want to talk about Montana just for a second, because we mentioned that in the beginning, and that was really how I found you. And that's the power of LinkedIn, everybody, so I won't go on the soapbox there. I've done it way too many times. But so what about, like, what do you know about the Montana ban of TikTok? And, like, because I know I just read a couple, like I read some articles, like the governor's quote was, "We're protecting Montanans."
Yeah.
So, like, what does that even mean? I'm just kind of curious about this in general, and in my view, it's the last state that needed to
Right.
ban it. Like, if you want to kill TikTok, New York and LA, guys, New York and California, TikTok's done. I mean, that's has to be three-quarters of the users, right, in the U.S. at least.
Oh, but could you imagine how unpopular a governor would be if they came in and banned it in
Oh,
California, New York?
that's why Montana's like a layup. It's just like, okay, Montana banned it, guys. Step in the right direction. It's like, not really, you know. Like I said, it's like that's like New York banning cow herding.
Right, exactly.
It's like nobody has cows in the city, guys. Like it's like you're banning something that nobody even does there. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, you're not gonna lose an election banning it in Montana. I think that was probably part of the calculus of this ban.
Yes.
I first of all, I don't think that it's gonna go through. I think it's pushed off until 2024 before the ban takes effect. The ban will be for distribution of TikTok, so it'll be taken out of the app stores. You will not be punished for having TikTok on your phone. So users, like, it's kind of like reminiscent of when they were having like abortion talks 4 years ago when they said we're not going to punish the woman, but we are going to punish the doctors. And then it kind of like slippery sloped, and now the legislation's going that direction. It's kind of the same with TikTok, right? Where it's like it'll start with that, and then it'll start being like if you have it on your phone, blah blah blah. They just wanted to get a step one out there. But the way so they're kind of scant on details about how this rollout's going to happen. And I think they're doing it on purpose, because I don't believe for a second the governor ever thought that this was going to actually take effect. I think that's why they kicked the can down the road that long. Because like what they get to say is in the re-election speech, I was the first governor brave enough to take a stand against the Chinese Communist Party and the takeover of our children's data. Yeah, like that's all this announcement was about, was getting that press, right? But let's talk about the good part about it. The good part about this ban is I do think that it's going to force other people to say, oh man, the drum beat's getting a little bit louder. We need to take a stand on this. And hopefully some people are going to be smart enough to know that their stand isn't a yay or a nay on TikTok, but oh no, if TikTok goes under, what are we going to do about Lemonade, which is also a top 20 social media app in America that's also owned by ByteDance, that's collecting the same data, that's also user-generated content. Like, once people get wise to this idea of like, oh, there is a problem, the problem is that there's a lot of gray area here, and how do we solve and regulate that gray area? Like, I think that's the good thing about this, is it's forcing the conversation of, oh, wait, I do like this band. Why do I like it? Or I don't like this band. Why don't I like it? And that's going to force people to take, like, hopefully have conviction and then take real stands where they need to.
Yeah, it's like reverse decriminalization. It's like it wasn't illegal, but now it's decriminalized. It's like, so you can have the weed, like you might get like a little ticket for having a little weed, but you're not going to go to jail. You know, it's like that similar vibe. It's kind of crazy. It's like social media. I mean, it's a drug. Like, I just interviewed my friend Brielle. We were talking about Gen Z being wrapped up into this. We were talking about the mental health of Gen Z, right? That's a whole conversation around this, around TikTok specifically. I don't think really our generation is soft. I think they just kind of lack a purpose because they're sitting watching other people on TikTok and all these kind of apps. And that's why I create content. Not that I know what I'm talking about. I do for certain things, right? Like, I'm aware of the experience that I don't have, but the reality is, like, not to, go too far into this topic, but, that is important, like you said, to start the conversation. And also, I mean, this is affecting kids. When I was in high school, social media was not addictive when I was growing up. It was around. I got Snapchat and Instagram in high school, and it wasn't just, we weren't like compulsively checking our phones. We were just Snapchatting kind of just for fun, like it was just an app, because they hadn't engineered, and you probably know this because you were working for these companies, like they had not engineered that addictive nature into the apps, and so that's there now too. So yeah, I mean, all out ban, is that, the solution? Probably not. But starting the conversation is one step closer. That's for sure.
And this is what's really scary about this is what you're talking about things being too addicting. If we change the verbiage of that to it's too entertaining, right? Because like I'll give an example. I was a kid of the '80s. I got the 8-bit Nintendo when I was 4. You could not peel me away from that damn thing. You couldn't get me away from it because it was at that time it was mind blowing and it was so much better than reality that like I think that I had a pretty serious addiction at like the age of 5 of like Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior and Bubble Bobble and Mario because it was like so much better than reality. So when we say that we engineer these things to be addicting, like I want to reframe that into saying like we're engineering when we make things too entertaining, what it requires is for enough personal responsibility or enough ways to break people out of that cycle so that it's safe enough, right? Like I point to the Nintendo Wii because it was the very first system I ever had in my life where you'd play for an hour and then a little screen would pop up and it's like, why don't you've been playing for a long time? Why don't you go outside? At that time, that was like mind blowing. But I'm like, man, this is kind of genius because they recognize that this is such a good system that like it's not like I'm going to stop playing the Wii or not buy the system because this pops up. I'm still going to play the system, but it's also recognizing that like there is going to be a subset of addiction and like anything, don't ban gambling but regulate. Don't ban alcohol but regulate. Don't ban weed but regulate. I'm a firm believer in these things. And what that requires is when you give people what they want and there is a danger of overuse is having methods by which we can kind of crack people of that addiction, right? Whether it's public programs or safeguards placed on these things. I think it's the same way with social media. I think that like frankly if there's a kind of an under 18 ban of social media that's coming out, it will deeply hurt my business if that comes
I mean,
out.
I
But
do
I
my
support it.
entire business off of social media, so
Right.
yeah.
But I also
Feel you.
I also support it. And like when I tell people in the business that they're like, you're crazy. Teenagers are going to use TikTok no matter what. I'm like, yeah, teenagers are going to watch R-rated movies no matter what. Guess what? I support the MPAA and I support giving things R ratings, right? Because I think that it should
Yeah.
be harder for a 13-year-old to go see somebody's head ripped off in a movie because they're not ready for it yet. I don't know if kids are ready to have their own phone and be able to watch TikTok 8 hours a day. I think it will make them addicted and worse and ADD and it needs to be regulated.
Yeah, and this is probably an hour on this topic, but yeah, it comes down to parenting, which I'm not a parent, so I don't know. Are you a parent?
I'm a parent. Yeah, I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I try to limit their screen time, but it is hard. You know?
Yeah, I mean, but it's the perfect like Steve Jobs not giving his kids the iPad, right? It's
Right.
like we've seen it time and time again, and it's like, and it's very interesting, and I do I do like the reframe on the entertainment, for sure. But then there's also the fact of like this is like a liquor store in your hand, you know. It's
Right.
like the kids, if they want the alcohol, they really gotta I mean, if the parents have the liquor cabinet, then they have to refill it. Like it's like there's a
Right.
real, it's kind of difficult. It's like the liquor store's right here, right? So
Right.
there is that and also like, is there also, are they objectively actually, tailoring the algorithms so they are more addictive? Like they're not
Yeah.
doing it so they're more entertaining. They're also doing it so it's both, right? I think it's probably both, in the
Yeah.
way that they wait 3 seconds for your notifications to pop up. That's not entertainment. That's
Right.
addictive. That's trying to get you on the on the on the
Oh,
ride.
for sure.
You know?
For sure. I mean, it
Yeah.
is kind of the slot machine mentality of how often do you have to go ding, 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 ding to keep people putting in more money. And
Yep.
or mobile games that have daily login bonuses. Like, you're right, not inherently entertainment. But on the other hand, there's a reason why people are hitting that push notifications because when they get inside of the experience is to just keep watching and watching and watching. And part of that is, I mean, however you want to define entertainment, we can get into the philosophical argument about that. Like, are they getting their dopamine hits in the way that they like in the way that you would from like a stupid action movie, right? Like, yeah, that's the reason why we watch stupid action movies. Like, I'm a huge fan of stupid action movies. I don't watch them because I'm like getting enlightened or getting smarter. I watch
Yeah.
it for those silly dopamine hits of stupid things happening. When I watch TikTok, it's kind of the same. My TikTok For You page is heavily curated, and this will show you how middle-aged I am. It's a lot of business news. It's a lot of like stock news, digital media hot takes. Like, I watch it, and every single one, I'm like, yes, I want to watch more. I want to watch more because it knows me so well. And I'm like, that's better than what I used to get with YouTube, but is it more addicting? Absolutely. Once I go on my For You page, 45 minutes gonna go by in a blink.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I would say, yeah, mine is, I'm like a self improvement guy. So it's like Ed Milet, Tony Robbins. We're like, you go down my thing, it's all great stuff. It's people making music and art and, people talking about, I mean, LinkedIn's the classic example of like, if you want to feel bad for not waking up at 4:30 a.m., just go make a LinkedIn account. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like there's a toxic positivity too, for sure. But yeah, it's better than having, I guess just mindless kind of bullshit on your feed to have like maybe some world news or maybe some self-improvement. It's better, but we're still doing the same thing. And I literally had to take social media off my phone. I have done the cheat code of telling my phone my wake up time and my bedtime, so I don't have to set an alarm. So that it goes off at the same time every day. Like I've done a lot of these things, but also like I'm predisposed to it. Like I will just continually log on and log on and log on, and you don't even have to log on. You just open the app. I re-download the app to post.
Right.
So that's
smart.
what I do. I think that's psychotic for some people. They may think that, but I think it's great. It's working for me, but you really got to take those measures for your own life. Obviously that kind of self-control has to come in there. But yeah, I mean, I love this conversation. I think this is the start of the conversation for sure in terms of in the future. I think this is just opening that door. I want to have you on because I don't see a lot of people really talking about this, especially on different platforms. People are saying it's one post at a time, but to talk about it at length, man, I really appreciate it. And also, can you talk a little bit about what you do, because I'm not so familiar with kind of your company or business, or I'm not sure. You're in a really nice office, so you got to do something right. But tell me, Phil, like, yeah, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? What's your day to day like?
Yeah, totally. So I'm the chief operating officer at We Are Verified. We're a digital talent management company at our core. We've got about 100 talent under management. Most of them are beauty, fashion, lifestyle with a twist, but we kind of manage a good cross section of a lot of creators, mostly kind of TikTok and Instagram first creators, but a fair amount of YouTube as well. We also have a side of our company that we call our platform services division, where we do Snap Discover shows and podcasts, Web3 projects, AI projects, business consultancy for creator economy companies, kind of agency of record, branded work, and influencer marketing sales. So we do a fair amount of stuff. Really what we put ourselves out there is creator economy experts, where if you've got a creator economy problem, we can either connect you to the people that can solve it, or we can solve it ourselves.
Wow, I love it. I mean, so do you guys source that talent then, or do people apply? Is it a little bit of both? How do they? How are you getting that talent?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's an interesting mix. We're quite picky about who we work with because we only have 5 talent managers, so we can't have infinitely large rosters, and we're not looking to scale. Like, there's a lot of management companies out there that are looking to just sign the internet. That is not us. We're looking.
Yeah, they're like just spam cold emailing like thousands of people with Instagram accounts. Yep.
Yeah, totally not us. We want the people who can lean in and really optimize their businesses, and frankly, make us money. Right? We don't want to sign somebody and then so we don't make money until they make money. It's a revenue split. So like we don't want that. But we generally will either find them or get them through a referral. It's pretty rare that somebody just like kind of hits us up and they're like, "Hey, I have no clue who you are, but I found you on Google," kind of thing. And the ones that do find us through that are generally not quite to the level we need it yet. Yeah, it's somehow we have more talent than we know how to deal with, so we luckily get to say no to some really great talent. So signing has never been an issue.
Oh, I love that, man. That's awesome. Wow. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I've seen many companies similar, but I don't know much about that kind of talent agency world. I'm a rapper, music producer. That's how I started, but didn't figure out how to make money with it. So then I figured out how to make money with podcasting. I was like, okay, but we're onto something here. So I'm just starting the journey. 24, so I got a lot to go here, man. But that's really interesting to hear, and maybe something to think about as I continue to double down on the brand. Companies like yours, man. So awesome, Phil. Is there anything that you want to plug here in terms of whether it's yourself, your LinkedIn profile, business?
Yeah, for We Are Verified, go to wav.la if you want to see some of the stuff we're working on. And you can find me on all social networks, even the weirdo ones like Clapper and Blue Sky and everything. I'm at Phil Ranta on every platform, unless it's a gaming platform, in which case I go by my gamer tag with it, which is Punkish, Punkish.
There we go. Next time, first topic, next time you're on is Clapper. It's not what you think it is. All right, so yeah, man. Phil, thanks so much for doing this today. I really appreciate you doing it, man.
You bet. Thanks for your time.
Yep. Thanks everybody for listening in. And same here. We are on every single platform, even the ones nobody uses. All right. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.